Welcome, everyone. I hope we're live. I'm all over the place tonight.
We're live.
Welcome, everyone, to Haven of Horror. As always, I am the subject, and I have Robert and Noah with me. We're doing Robert's pick for fucking uh, decades of horror. We're not allowing Robert to pick anymore.
Off limits.
So, Robert, why did you pick this?
A couple of reasons. I thought it'd be fun to throw a bad movie in there with this little theme. Also, I think I picked this before we were, or at least while we were talking about like our original remake idea that we just started with our Nightmare on Elm Street double feature commentary. But I also figured I don't want to do that with Psycho because I could predict that would be miserable. So I'm using this as an excuse to get Psycho 98 out of the way now, and we'll do more stuff on Psycho in the future because I'd love to cover the sequels with you guys at some point because it's a really weird, interesting franchise. And I love Psycho, the original. It's one of my favorite horror movies. And this remake is a lot more interesting to talk about than actually watch, but I'll see what you guys think about it. That's also why I thought this would be fun to see your reaction and get your thoughts on this.
It's a good thing you said that right off the bat before we're about to watch it. It's more it's more interesting to talk about.
Yeah, but we're talking while watching. Everybody wins.
Yeah, it's 50-50.
Give me just a second. My Plex isn't working for some reason.
Yeah, well, and the 90s is just a weird decade for horror and kind of an underrated one, in my opinion, because the movie I reviewed, or we reviewed, that was my pick earlier, was Silence of the Lambs, which is one of my absolute favorites. So, like, that decade's bookended with some really strong stuff, like Silence of the Lambs at the beginning and then Sixth Sense at the end. And then there's also stuff like Exorcist 3 that I really like, and of course Scream, which is one of my favorites and really changes the genre. And this movie just comes out at a weird time where it's like every horror movie is copying Scream and trying to be Scream, except for this. This is like this weird outlier of this weird horror remake of a classic that a lot of people were not particularly happy with or excited about. And then just a few years later, we'll get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake, which is this huge commercial hit and launches the wave of Platinum Doom's remakes. So this is just this weird outlier that I don't know what to do with other than it was kind of a failure.
It seems that most people don't know what to do with this because I know people at the time, from the beginning, from what I understand, people were saying, what is even the point of this? Like, why? It's a very pointless exercise. And I did see a clip of the Siskel and Ebert review, and I think even in that, they were like, there's no reason that this movie should exist, but it's a movie that's probably going to be studied for years to come. And they were right.
Yeah, because we usually say with like our favorite remakes, you know, the go-tos are always your John Carpenter's The Thing or David Cronenberg's The Fly, movies that do something very, very different, and in many cases for the better. Those are the remakes that usually stand out and are great. And this is the polar opposite of that, of trying very hard to be the original and stick to it. And then, but then Disney started doing it 20 years later, and they made billions of dollars doing shot-for-shot remakes. So I don't know what to do with this.
I was actually thinking the closest I can compare this to from my experience is when I watched the Lion King remake. I made the very poor mistake of rewatching the original Lion King right before. So it was just like watching the exact same movie over like twice in a row.
Okay, so before we go any further with this preamble, let's get started. We are on a bit of a time crunch here.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm ready when you guys are.
3, 2, 1, go. So I have been curious about this film. Now that I'm all set up, it's not something I've ever seen. I hadn't even seen the original until recently. I am not fundamentally against a Psycho remake. So I mean, there's some weird choices that I know about it, but
I think in theory I'm not against it, but it's one of those things where it's so hard to remake a movie like this because of how much of a legacy it has.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I mean, you can say that about any of the other remakes that we like Friday. Well, like I guess that I I like the
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw remake. I like the Friday remake.
Well, I think Texas Chainsaw is comparable, but not as. I don't think Friday is held up on the same level as the original Psycho.
Not on that same level, but I mean, they're in that same camp of like, whether you like it or not, it is an iconic, important piece of film history.
Mhm.
Right. No, but I guess my point was more like people. This is a movie that people would riot if they remade, and I think they probably did.
Hello,
There was
Mars.
a
Welcome in.
Hello. There was a lot of conversation around this of should Psycho be remade? It's a classic. Should we be making a Hitchcock movie, which we haven't done a lot? I think it's important to remember too that in the '90s, Psycho is still a relatively more recent movie, at least than it is now. But the
Right.
justification for it was also, well, it's kind of old. Do teenagers know or care about Psycho? And the counter argument would be, then just re-release the original in theaters and see how it does,
But we
and
also
see if
didn't do
people
that
like
as
it.
much at the time.
Yeah, and
So
So I will
oh,
say
go
that
on.
these
Sorry, Joe.
credits are terrible.
I was gonna say though, right off the bat, we're even
The green is
copying the
weird.
Saul Bass opening.
Yep, we are doing the Saul Bass opening, which is simple and iconic. The difference now is it's green, and I think
It's
that's a weird
green now.
choice.
And I saw that it's Danny Elfman doing the music. I guess that's not a bad choice if you want to mimic Bernard Herrmann.
Yeah, I
But
think they do just reuse a lot of Bernard Herrmann's score, but then
okay.
Danny Elfman reorchestrates some of it and adds some new stuff. I'm not entirely clear.
So can I just throw this out there as just from things that I've heard? It seems like it's less of an issue that they remade Psycho and more of it's a shot for shot remake, which
Yes.
that is a little pointless. I will
It's
agree.
the most baffling choice. Yeah.
Well, I also, since we're on this opening establishing shot, I will say this shot is extremely impressive and one of the best in the movie. So what's going on here is this is the same opening as the original, except the original idea was to do this opening with the city landscape and then zooming into a hotel room in one shot, which they just didn't have the technology or means to do in 1960. So here it's like, oh, now we can do it the way Hitchcock intended,
Ah.
where it's this seamless edit from a helicopter shot into this hotel set. And it's really cool and impressive. And as we'll see over the course of the rest of this film, it is very inconsistent with, are we trying to just update this and do things that we couldn't do in 1960, or are we making the exact same movie in the exact same way? It'll be very
Yeah,
inconsistent about those choices because this
and
shot's great.
I haven't heard the director or anyone involved talk about this movie too much, but to me it seems like the motivation for doing it shot for shot is because Psycho is such an untouchable classic. So they're like, I guess the thinking is, let's not try to change it. But then comes the question, why even do this at all if you're not going to offer anything different?
Yeah. Um, so Gus Van Sant, the director, his motivation is because he's a massive Psycho fan. The original is one of his favorite movies. He's kind of obsessed with it. And
Mhm.
before this comes out, he makes Good Will Hunting, which makes $200
Yeah.
million. That's his like first mega hit. So this is a very much kind of a vanity. Oh, I have clout to do whatever I want, and this is what I want to do. I want to remake Psycho, but shot for shot, and see if I can replicate what Hitchcock did. And the other motivation was like, will this be successful? Like, he viewed it as kind of an experiment, and his other motivation was, well, I want to remake Psycho so no one else can. So he did it.
And yeah.
Good job.
Cool to him
Well,
to think
that,
nobody will ever remake the movie because he did it.
Yeah,
yeah.
it technically hasn't happened yet, but we'll see.
That's not true.
Bates
Bates
Motel's
Motel
different.
exists.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention Bates Motel earlier, though, in that is Psycho an untouchable masterpiece that shouldn't be remade. I don't know if that's how I feel about it, but I think Bates Motel is a good example of, well, now you're translating it to a different medium. You're doing something different with it. You know, it's more of a reimagining than what this is, which is a shot-for-shot remake.
That
I will.
also has seasons before that that's just a prequel to this, so
Right.
it's like not completely
I
shot for
will
shot.
also say, like, I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but if you're gonna do it, like, cast it better.
Casting in this movie is weird. So we have
We got Viggo Mortensen here.
as Sam Loomis, which is an upgrade. But I don't know if guys could tell, he's doing a weird Southern accent in this, and I don't know how to feel about that choice. It's very distracting whenever he talks. But I love Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna complain about Viggo Mortensen being in a movie. He's great.
You say as he's, but
Yeah, I said no, that was bad timing, or perfect timing.
And again, that's one of those changes of. Oh, go on. Sorry.
You said I don't care about a Psycho remake. I mean, I feel
It
like you have to
exists.
see it at least once.
Yeah,
I'm glad I'm actually watching this finally. I was kind of complaining about doing this earlier, but I am actually glad that I'm finally watching this.
No, I just think this won't even be the worst remake you've watched this week.
that's
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
true.
I guess we'll have to. I guess it's debatable which. Well, we'll see by the end of this.
Yeah.
If the Nightmare one's worse.
I just can't picture a world where this is worse than the Nightmare remake.
That's fair. There was a really funny line there though, because this was Psycho was written by Joseph Stefano, and he actually comes back and works with Gutsa and Sant on this. He was still alive. So it is the same screenwriter, and there was a lot of discussion back and forth of how much do we stick to the original and what do we update to set this in '98. So, for example, the money, which is kind of a big MacGuffin in this movie, was $40,000 in the original. It's $400,000 in this. So there's changes like that to accommodate the time period. So it is the same writer, but there's a really funny line earlier where when she's talking to Sam in the original, he's just shirtless, and when she leaves, he asks if he can go with her, and she's like, "Oh, you need to put on your shoes first." And here he's like completely naked. She says, "Oh, you need to put on your shoes first." Like that is a funnier line in this context. So I find little things like that.
I wish they kept it at 4,000 or 40,000. Can you imagine how hilarious that would have been in '98 to be arguing over 40,000?
Yeah, because here she's talking to Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome, and is get the money.
No,
yeah, as
when
you
I
can
was
see,
looking
this
for
is
a
the same
thumbnail for this, because I didn't even know who was in this besides Vince Vaughn and Anne Hesh. Julianne Moore's in this?
She is. And
Little
she's really
Lost
good.
World reunion. She's going where the only place where the geese chase her. Speaking of the Lost World, you should have been there last night. Noah kept asking me questions about the Lost World, and it was really funny because he kept describing everything wrong. So he was like, "Doesn't Vince Vaughn show up with like a gun?"
Well, you have to remember, I kept getting details wrong because I kept forgetting about the movie because it's so forgettable.
It's not.
It is. It's boring.
I'm gonna go look around for someone who can help me with my story. Good luck with the story.
And but I also think so. My biggest problem with this movie is if this is just an experiment, that's fine. Like, can you replicate a movie as close as possible, and will it be as effective as a work of art and as a piece of entertainment, and will it be as enjoyable by audiences? Like, I think that's an interesting experiment. The problem is I'm unclear on what the hypothesis is, and I don't think anyone making this movie is on the same page as to what the hypothesis is. Are we trying to make exactly the same movie, or are we trying to update this but still stick as close as possible to the story for '98? Because I think this movie runs into a lot of problems being set in '98. If it's a period piece, it's arguably more valid as an experiment. Like, I'm fine with it being in color, but maybe they should have set this in 1960.
This sounds like a $60 million vanity project, I'm gonna be honest.
It was. And that budget's insane. Because the original Psycho is made with his TV crew. Like, that's made for under $1 million, which of course was a lot more back then, but still, like, for context, he made Good Will Hunting the year before this for $10 million. Why is this $60 million? I don't know where the money went.
Well, if I remember correctly, Hitchcock makes Psycho.
At least two of the biggest actors of the time.
It's probably a problem.
Yeah. Well, Hitchcock makes Psycho kind of like in the middle of his filmography, right? And I think
Yeah.
it's sometime
Well, it's
after
after a couple of his big mega hits.
like North by Northwest, which I feel like was one of his bigger budget movies. That was right before. So then he decides to do Psycho at a smaller budget, which makes sense for the story, but I guess it was kind of like surprising for people at the time.
Speaking of Hitchcock, I watched Rear Window today. It was pretty good.
Oh, cool.
I love
like him.
Rear Window. It's one of my favorites.
I feel like I
And
didn't get as much out of it as someone who doesn't like know anything about filmmaking. Just like looking at people's letterbox reviews, it's like, yeah, that was an alright story. And it also it kind of sucks. The thing that sucks about seeing that now is I've seen like all the rip-offs and inspired bys of that movie.
Mhm.
Fair enough, yeah.
Well, it's funny because the remake of that comes out around the same time as the remake of this, but that was a TV
Oh, they
remake with
remade that?
Christopher Reeve. Yeah,
Oh,
after he was
Oh, yeah.
paralyzed. So it doesn't have a great reputation. Like it didn't get very good reviews, but I still like to watch it. And they did something different, at
well,
least.
the main thing I couldn't stop thinking about was, do you guys remember that Shia LaBeouf movie, Disturbia?
Yeah, but I've never seen it.
Okay, because I wonder how much of that is supposed to be like a remake of that. Because it's the same premise, except it's like not, he's not hurt, he's just like on house arrest or something. And there's something else that I've either seen or saw trailers of that has a similar, extremely similar premise. But yeah, the main thing that I took away from it was just that lead actor is really good.
Oh, Jimmy Stewart is great, and that's like one of the most impressive old Hollywood sets ever. Like that's
But that's what I mean. It's like
a
stuff like that.
huge set.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like I don't look for that stuff when I make. So like, as someone who doesn't know anything about filmmaking, and that's not what I go to the film for, I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I don't know what it is. I just can't take this actor seriously in this role.
I don't love her. I think she's fine. She does play it very differently. She has kind of a cluelessness to her that Janet Leigh doesn't have. Like
Yeah.
Janet Leigh has these really intense eyes and like this focused determination throughout it. And this Marian's just kind of like, I guess I'll steal this money. I don't know. Like
Oh
she's
my
Like she
God.
just decided
So,
that like snap decision
when I was
to
looking
take
for
the
a
money.
picture to use for the thumbnail, I found somebody had uploaded a picture of like the final shot. I couldn't stop laughing. Vince Vaughn does not look terrifying at all. He looks drunk.
oh yeah, we'll get there. And so this cop is James Remar, which is really good casting. Raiden in Mortal Kombat Annihilation and
And
other things. I
let
think
me
he's in
just tell
Tekken.
you, I was so disappointed I could not find a usable image of Vince Vaughn in drag for this because it was also really funny. No, there are very few screen caps of this movie online.
Yeah, it's kind of forgotten. I remember
I
back in the
wonder
day, like,
why.
yeah. Well, I remember back in the day, like before streaming, before like I watched this on Peacock when it was on there, it was a movie that was kind of hard to find. You had to find like an old DVD or something. So even
I
then,
actually
like
do
back then,
remember seeing this at the video store, and I was
oh
curious
cool.
because the poster I didn't even know it was a remake. That's
James Remar,
Dexter's dad.
right?
I've been really
Yeah,
wanting
he's
to
really cool.
rewatch Dexter. I've seen some clips of that revival show that they did, and I know you told me about it, but man, making Deb his dark passenger, spoilers, is such a good idea.
It is, yeah. And I haven't seen that show, but I know about that, and people are really excited about that.
That whole last season might be one of the worst things I've ever watched live. It starts out with, oh, that's where you're going from like the finale to, oh, that's how you're ending it. They'll just also have the guy from Jackie Brown in it.
Yes, Robert Forster. He's also Noah. He's the disappear guy in Breaking Bad.
In Breaking Bad, yeah.
Philadelphia.
I love
Yeah,
Robert
he appears
Forster.
in- He's awesome.
He's great.
Yeah, he's the psychiatrist at the end who gives the monologue, and it's a lot shorter in this version, which I guess is an
Why would
improvement.
you cut that?
Well,
No,
because it's a
that's
shot
just
for shot remake.
oh yeah, we'll get to
So
more weird
I'm
changes.
glad you brought that up because I was thinking about it. That is the number one reason I would remake this movie, is just to change that ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I love Psycho. I'll never say it's a perfect movie. There are things you could improve on. Like I said, with that opening helicopter shot, like that's really impressive. And the ending you could fix, but this movie is just real inconsistent when it wants to be an update and when it wants to be literally the same movie. Like it can't pick a lane.
I don't know what it is. We were talking about this actress earlier. I don't know what it is about her performance here, but it does seem like she's kind of in almost like a comedy sketch. Like, I don't know. Like, she does seem a lot more clueless, and there's just kind of like I don't know, more of like a goofiness to her.
Yeah, well, and I know for a lot of the cast in this movie, playing these parts is really awkward because, of course, everyone making this movie has seen Psycho. But then it's that
Yeah.
issue of like, do I rewatch it? Do I try to copy the performance? Do I try to make it my own? It was just this weird. It was a very weird experience for everyone filming this movie.
I
Oh,
can't
yeah, I
take anybody
imagine.
seriously that has to open an umbrella out in the middle of
That
this.
umbrella is a choice. It's hot. It's for the sun. It's a sun umbrella.
I'd like to see what Vince Vaughn thinks of this now and how he looks back on this
Mm.
experience, especially with all the credit. I imagine a lot of the criticism was levied at him.
Yes.
Uh,
And to his credit, like he did take this role very seriously and he was very intimidated by it. Like he was nervous doing it and he put a lot of effort. I think he was miscast. But he's tried.
I can't put the pieces from let's remake Psycho to let's cast Vince Vaughn.
Right.
the guy from Swingers.
Well, because okay, so the experiment of this is, can you copy a movie almost exactly, and will it be as effective to a modern audience like 30 or 40 years later? The most important casting to get right is Norman Bates, and that's the one you fuck up the most.
Yeah.
The rest of the experiment's kind of worthless after that.
And honestly, maybe this is just me being desensitized. I don't think this is a movie you can update to just a modern time and still have it be effective, especially
Right.
after the 80s. Like,
yeah, and remember, this is after Scream. Scream does the fake out protagonist opening. Like nobody is shocked by anything that happens in this in 1998.
yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, that doesn't suddenly make the original Psycho a bad film. That makes Psycho a film of its time. You
It
can't
just makes it hard to adapt.
You can't just take a 60s script, which is designed to affect people living in that specific time period, and say, well, now it's in the 90s, and ignore, the new wave of slashers, the British horror of the 80s, things that are much more terrifying because they're visceral and gooey, for lack of a better term.
Gooey, gory. No, I think it just makes it harder to adapt for a modern audience. I don't think it's impossible. I think
And this is what, 98?
Yeah.
This is post Silence of the Lambs. Who is going to find this scary if you went to see Silence of the Lambs?
Right. No, that's a great point because they're both like inspired by the same things, like Ed Gein and serial killers, all that stuff. And yeah, that's a way more shocking, visceral movie.
I would like to see somebody try to remake Psycho again and actually like make it a modern take on Psycho. You could do something with that.
And that's what Bates Motel does. I haven't finished it. I've seen the first 3 seasons, but it is really good.
We should cover that show in the future.
I'd like to.
Add it on the ever-growing list of shows we need to do.
Because what Bates Motel does at the beginning that's smart is it's not a period piece. It's not a prequel. It's set in modern day. So right off the bat, like, okay, this is a reboot. It is doing its own thing. and it kind of cherry picks from the
I
original
watched
film.
the
and others.
pilot, and then I realized that the kid playing Norman is the I am a surgeon guy, and
Yes,
it's like
Yeah.
that was like at
he,
the
he
peak
gets
of that.
better. He's fine.
That was like at the peak of that meme. I was like, I need to give myself some time. I can't take him seriously.
He's better than Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, but I mean, the
That's
thing
not
I
a
always
high
know,
bar.
the thing that I mostly know him from is he's Charlie in the Charlie and
Yeah.
the Chocolate Factory remake.
And I've never seen that.
Yeah,
He's
that was
also in like
just the first thing I saw.
Spiderwick Chronicles. He was in a bunch of movies like that.
I didn't see that either.
Yeah, but so to you, he's the good doctor.
Yeah.
He's the goodest of them.
So we're doing Psycho.
Yep.
Please tell me that they kept shot for shot that really bad down the stairs.
Oh, we'll
effect.
get to it. We'll get to it. And that is a perfect example and effect that obviously, like, I agree it looks clunky, but that's part of the charm of it for me. Like, it's not a
I am
problem,
forgiving of that in a
it's very
60s
surreal.
movie.
Right. Yeah, of course.
I am not going to be forgiving in a 1990s movie.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Yeah, it's a movie where you just gotta
Why?
watch it with
This-
context.
This voice actress is doing like the over the narration, kind of talks like you, where she's just like really fast.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I got a lot of words to try to get out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what emotion she's trying to convey. She just looks mildly confused.
I don't either.
He looks amused in certain
Yeah,
scenes.
I don't know what that face is supposed to.
So, Robert, I think the answer is yes, you can remake Psycho shot for shot, but you have to actually be, talented.
Oh.
No, I wouldn't even think you can make it shot for shot. I also don't think this is an untalented director. I like Good Will Hunting.
I like Good Will Hunting.
I mean, I do still have to see that, but let me add on. When I say talented, I mean you have to make sure that you are talented enough to be able to do what Hitchcock did.
Mhm.
Like, to use modern day, like, what's the witch guys? Robert Eggers.
Robert Eggers.
Like Robert Eggers or Flanagan could do a shot for shot remake of Psycho and understand why that works and how to do it. So far, I'm not convinced this guy is good enough to know how.
Yeah, I don't think they'd even really want to do a shot for shot remake of Psycho.
Well,
Well,
no,
and
and I'm not saying they should. I'm saying that they could.
And scenes like this don't look bad, but it's like, they're doing rear projection again. They're just having lights around the car to simulate traffic and stuff. And it's like, you could just stick a camera to the car. It's 98. Like
Like, what
it's
are
so
we doing
weird.
here?
And here we are with the Bates Motel sign that looks bad and the horrible gaudy motel neon on the building. I don't know why we did that. It looks so bad.
Yeah,
I don't
this
like it.
actress, she looks more or less like a bad actress and more, she doesn't know what she's supposed to be conveying right now.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah. This looks like a stereotypical 90s TV movie hotel.
It does. And we're shooting at the Universal backlot, not the same hotel for some of the Psycho sequels, at least 3, I think. And when you see the Psycho house, Norman Bates' house, it's the same location, but they built a facade over the older looking one to make it look different. I don't know why. We're trying to make a shot for shot remake, but we also changed what the Psycho house looks like and built a facade in front of the old one.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So it's almost like they're confused. They don't even want to commit to doing a shot for shot remake. in
That's what I'm
certain areas.
saying.
Why
And
did you climb in the wrong side of the...
I don't, yeah.
because she honked the horn, but it's raining. And again, it's like you could say it's nostalgia or whatever, but it's like the old Psycho house just looks better. Like this is just an inferior design. It's a nitpick, but I don't know why we changed it. And here it is.
Here we go.
Oh boy, that right up when 12 cabins, 12 vacancies. He does that nervous laughter thing a lot throughout the movie, and it's never convincing. Just this is the most important casting to get right.
This is not fair to Vince Vaughn at all, but I'm just seeing like the comedy guy here.
Okay.
Especially when with choices like the nervous laugh.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you guys probably didn't notice they kept the same book where she's signing her name from the original. It's the same name above it, which is Michael Scott.
Oh,
This is still before that
oh.
show happens. It's just really funny that they kept that detail.
Okay. I missed that somehow.
So we keep the book, but we change the Psycho House. Explain.
We want to do a full tribute to the original, except for when we don't. Because I mean, in comparing this to the Nightmare remake, which we just watched, like that movie's awful. I can see the mindset of like, well, at least that tries to, that's not a shot for shot remake. It does something different. What it does is really bad. So
Yeah, but with
it's
something
like,
like that, it
what's
might have
worse?
been better if it was a shot for shot remake. Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
If you're looking at scenes like Freddy coming out of the wall in CGI form, I don't know. When it does try to copy the
Yeah.
first one.
Oh God, that light.
I like it. That's a very deliberate choice of the bathroom is like so white and blown out because it's the bathroom. It's like a really important location. I do like the cinematography in this by Christopher Doyle. Like I agree that it does look kind of like a '90s TV movie, but there's something kind of old fashioned about it. I do like the color and lighting in this movie. Hey, like I said, I think
Yeah,
updating it to
it's big.
color is fine, but
Yeah.
still, you got to commit. Like, are we again? I think setting this in 1960 would have made a lot of things more natural because the dialogue, like the dialect, the way these people talk, it's just very old fashioned. It doesn't feel authentic. Like nobody talks like a 90s person talks in this movie, and it's
Right.
distracting. And the fashion is all over the
Yeah, and I
place.
think
Like
that
she's
works for
just very
Norman
60s.
Bates. She should be talking just like a normal person.
Right.
That I think you could do something with that. Yeah, if you have Norman be the only one that talks like someone from the 60s
Mhm.
and have everyone else
Like add
talk,
more swearing and more
yeah,
expressions.
be a little bit more modern. That's something you could do in a movie that's not shot for shot and that is deliberately trying to make different choices.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's not what happened here.
No, it's not.
Yep, and I've just seen all of these scenes before.
Yep. And also, though, what I think is interesting about the experiment side of this of trying to copy the same movie, ironically, we kind of got that just a year prior with the 1997 12 Angry Men remake.
Oh
Because when I
yeah,
finally
yeah.
saw that, I was thinking of this the whole time. Because that movie is, like a 40 something year old later remake that is sticking to the same script. Like it's 90% the same dialogue, it's the same plot. It's virtually the same movie, just with a different cast and in color, but it just moves so much better and feels so natural. So even if you can't like argue or defend that like maybe the movie doesn't justify its existence, at the end of the day, it's just really good actors delivering these lines and it's still a really engaging movie. It's George C. Scott, like
Yeah.
it's still a
He's
really
the
enjoyable
man.
experience. And it's a primarily older cast. So even though it's 1997, it's set in 1997, it feels natural. It still feels like, okay, these are people of an older generation. This is just how they
Yeah.
talk. when you have 20 or 30 something year old Anne Hesh, it's more jarring, you know.
And yeah, and even Vince Vaughn, he's a younger person than a lot of the cast in 12 Angry Men. So, I mean, it kind of works more because he's supposed to be a more awkward, creepy character, but I don't know. Like,
Yeah, we'll get to it, but there's a lot of scenes in this where he's trying too hard to be creepy. That's one of the big issues with his performance. He does a lot more like mugging to the camera and ooh, I look so weird and ominous. It's like, no, that's not why it worked. And yeah, it's just the same movie.
uh, that yeah, no, I'm actually really curious in checking out that 12 Angry Men
Mhm.
remake though, just because I know that's a William Friedkin movie,
Yes.
and the cast is great. Like that's the big difference between this and that is that is a really well cast movie.
Right, for the right parts. Uh, you get James Gandolfini in there and
Yeah,
like what's his name? Jack Lemmon. And that's a movie where if you like the original 12 Angry Men, the original, you'd probably like the 90s one, even if it is virtually the same movie. Just don't watch them back to back.
yeah,
But it's still a really enjoyable watch, whereas this feels to me like much more of a slog.
yeah. I mean, like it's so. I don't even think the original was this slow paced.
Yeah, it's just made for a different time.
I guess yeah, maybe that's part of it is that watching the original, it doesn't feel as much of a slog because it was just made at a different time and it was paced differently. But because this is a 90s movie, you just, you just feel that more.
Yeah, and of course, like older movies, we don't cut as much. There's a lot more longer takes. And when you're comparing this to other 90s movies, those just move and are edited so much faster, which isn't inherently better. It's just jarring when you're watching this in that context.
So, I mean, were they thinking about trying to at all adapt this for a younger audience watching that hadn't seen
I
the original?
That was kind of their partially, I guess, the studio's justification for it, because there's this really cringy. I don't know if you can find it on YouTube or something. I've seen the Dead Meat podcast on this movie, and it's very good and worth listening to because they delve hardcore into like the behind the scenes stuff. But they talk about there's this really cringy like city walk special feature they did where they're walking around. Somebody with a camera is just asking like 20 something year old randos in the 90s, like, do you know who Alfred Hitchcock is? Have you seen Psych? And they're like, no, man, Hitchcock, who's that? And they're like, see, this movie's forgotten. We can remake it. It's like,
That's cringy.
it's so dated. And it's like, you could just re release Psycho and see how it does.
You could just do
it's
that.
weird.
I also don't understand using that as the justification for making it like this.
Right.
Because if you're gonna make it for a younger audience, then you need to update it. You need to have faster pacing. You need to make it a little bit more graphic and terrifying.
Yeah, imagine being like a 20-year-old Scream fan in the 90s, like watching this, like you'd probably be bored out of your mind.
You watch this and you're like, what's going on?
I'm honestly kind of bored.
And this comes out the same year as Halloween H2O, which is the Scream Halloween movie.
Oh yeah.
And also has a Janet Leigh cameo and a Psycho reference. I don't know what to do. Is that a fun fact? I don't know.
I don't know.
Just in
Does she even have a cameo in this?
Nope.
Wow.
Though there is a scene earlier when the office that Marion works at. So in the original, that's where Hitchcock's cameo is. He's standing outside the window, which is something he liked to do a lot in his movies. He liked to give himself little cameos. In this one, it's Gus Van Sant, and he's like clearly in an argument with somebody who looks like Hitchcock, or like a guy who looks like Hitchcock's yelling at him. And it's in the background. It's just a little Easter egg, but it's kind of fun.
That's so much of that rings so much of like this is an ego project for me.
It definitely is. And I will say, Alfred Hitchcock's daughter, Pat, she signed off on it. She was cool with it. So it's like, at least she gave her blessing. Because her mom also was Hitchcock's wife. Like, she was an uncredited screenwriter on a lot of Hitchcock's movies, including Psycho with
Yeah.
Stefano, or just like touch ups with the dialogue or whatever. And both her and Hitchcock were long dead by this point.
Hmm.
And I don't know, like I don't want to look at this too cynically, but it also does feel like, well, Hitchcock's dead, Anthony Perkins is dead, all the big people are dead, so I guess we can remake this now. Like I don't know, again, just from the studio perspective.
Don't worry, David Gordon Green will make a Psycho
Oh
trilogy.
no!
CGI Anthony Perkins.
Oh god!
He will come back in the third one to fight Norman Bates.
Wait, what? He is Norman Bates.
No, this will be Norman Bates has possessed the evil half of Norman Bates' identity has possessed someone, and the good half, which will be CGI Anthony Perkins, has to come back to stop him.
That sounds like cinema.
And I also should say, I think Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates is just my favorite performance from any actor as any character, like ever. I adore him in that role.
Really?
And I think he's even better in Psycho 2, which I do want to make you guys watch at some point because I think Psycho 2 is wonderful. And I don't know, it's like that's a movie that got like these really kind of underrated sequels, and then it was over, and then we got this remake.
Well, it's
When
funny
they were
'cause it
making the
actually goes
sequels,
it kind of goes the same way as the Omen franchise, where you get like a pretty good sequel, and then a third movie, and then a fourth movie that's straight to TV, and then remake.
Right. No, good call.
weren't they making the sequels like into the 90s?
I think the last one was like 90-91. It's the TV one. And then this remake's 98.
But so
So two of the sequels are in the 80s.
But it's just funny that the sequels we're not even that far away from them when we're making
Right.
this.
Yeah.
I watched that Omen remake today, by the way, and if you can believe it, it's complete ass.
It is? Damn, that's a shame.
Julia Stiles is hilariously miscast, by the way.
I'll watch it at some point. And oh my god, like this scene with Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh is like one of my favorite scenes in any movie. And watching it with these actors, I'm like, oh my god, the scene is still going.
No, he won't shut up.
So I mean, I actually don't think Vince Vaughn is really that bad of an actor at all.
No, I mean,
he's really good in that movie Freaky.
I just wanted to see that one,
which is more suited, a horror movie more suited to his talents.
No, but I think what I'm getting here is that he's just trying too hard.
I think,
or maybe he was just directed poorly. I don't know.
Why does he look like he's ready to cry like at any second?
He's kind of always at like an 11.
It feels like they're going too big, because the original Anthony Perkins performance was a lot more subtle.
Extremely subtle, very timid, kind of pitiful, but he has like that
very
calm, very awkward, and then he has that very calm intensity that slowly builds, and it's like, oh, this I don't want to leave the room.
And I think he's trying to do like, there's a lot of intensity under the surface that's bubbling up that he's trying to contain. Vince Vaughn, but he's not doing a great job of it.
Yeah, and like I said, he has that really forced.
I've now heard Vince Vaughn say, "They cluck." They cluck now.
Yeah, he did it again. Every time he does that laugh, like take a shot.
We all go a little mad sometimes. No, because even in that scene when he says the "we all go a little mad sometimes" line, he doesn't have that. He's not like jittery or anything. He just says it in a really creepy way. But in here, it's like he's about to explode.
And the way Anne Heche plays the scene, it's like she's having second thoughts and wants to go back and make up for what she did because she's creeped out by this guy. Like that's the vibe I'm getting. Because when you watch Janet Leigh in the original, it's like you see the gears turning and just that intensity in her eyes of like, fuck, maybe I made a mistake. Like she's doing a lot of reflecting during this scene. Her here just looks like she's creeped out and wants to leave. That's
It
the
just
vibe
looks
I'm
like,
getting.
oh, this is
I
kind of
don't blame her.
awkward.
This guy looks like he's gonna start crying at any second.
He doesn't look scared, though, is the thing. She just looks like kind of uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Like, you can tell in the original, Janet Leigh was terrified.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, that is Michael Scott, damn. I've never
It's
noticed
just-
that.
yeah. So, see what I mean? Like just the way he's looking at the camera and the way they're lighting him. It's like, look, he's creepy.
He's gone to the only place where the geese chase him.
Yeah, no, because in the original, like, he's creepy, but
He's awkward. He's just a
yeah,
socially awkward guy.
the film wasn't bashing you over the head that he's creepy, maybe until he starts looking through the peephole here.
Yeah, and in this version, there's slightly more nudity from Marion. It's slightly more explicit, but if you're paying attention to the sound, he is very explicitly masturbating
Oh,
during this scene.
Oh
If you
god,
look at his face, that's what he's doing.
That
Yeah,
actually
that's what
just
he's
came up
doing.
in the subtitles.
That's a change.
Okay,
I never
well.
needed to see that.
Okay, so that's confusing because we're not gonna update any of the graphic, like, violence from the
Right.
original.
This
We're
isn't
just-
even
Except that it's a
subtle.
But we're
Right.
gonna update the sexual aspects more. Like,
Yes.
it feels like, yeah, from Viggo Mortensen's ass at the beginning to this, it feels like a little bit more sleazy.
Yeah.
Which I mean,
Which
I'd
even-
be fine with if it was consistent.
Yeah.
But I also
it's
never
not.
needed to see that.
No.
Yeah, like it's again, the original is subtle and you get all you need. Like he's spying on her. It's
But that would
creepy
be
and
part
weird.
of updating it. Is the '90s? You know, this we kind of unlocked that sleaze gateway in horror, and
Right. But also Psycho 3, which you guys haven't seen yet, is way sleazier than this movie. So we've already pushed it beyond this in this franchise. So I don't know what we're here.
Yeah, I don't know. Why not just make a full-on '90s version of this movie?
Hmm. Yeah, it can't pick a lane.
No, because the other notable dramatic performance I've seen from Vince Vaughn is, of course, season 2 of True Detective, which is not good at all.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's
Right.
there's some redeeming qualities to it. I don't hate it as much as most people, but he's not terrible in it. But you can tell that he didn't have much to work with, and I think you can say that for most of the cast in that show.
I want to see that movie he did, Brawl on Block 99 or something.
Oh
I've
yeah,
heard that's apparently a really
I
good,
think-
like, serious performance from him.
Yeah, I think I've heard that too.
Oh, are we getting to the
oh, it's the
famous-
shower scene.
Everyone's shot. And
Yep.
again, shot very close to how the original is.
So the problem is that I don't give a shit about this woman. In the original, I like her,
Aaron.
so I'm like
Yeah.
sad that she's dead.
And yeah, and I think the editor, Amy Duddleston, I do feel bad for her because she talked about that making this like it was like, do I edit this like to what I'm given or do I try to match the original? Because obviously these actors are delivering their lines very differently. So that's just a weird position to be in. But I will say, her editing choices here are bizarre. and I'm gonna shut up and just let you guys listen to this, to how we do the shower scene, and tell me if something sounds
Okay.
off to you.
Because I don't think I've ever seen this version of this scene.
It keeps
Oh,
going.
Did something sound off to you? How they did the music?
I don't hear
it
music.
was like delayed.
It is. They
No, he opens the curtain and the music doesn't start until he starts stabbing her.
That's a weird choice, right?
What?
Yeah,
Oh, this
and
is terrible.
We're
yeah,
trying to match the original. We're also doing that like shitty 90s speed up effect.
Why are there random shots of clouds?
I don't know.
This is the fakest looking thing I've ever seen.
wow,
It's bad, right?
That's really
that's
bad.
so embarrassing because this is one of the most iconic scenes in cinema.
How do you
Yep.
screw that
This is
up?
how you.
And there's Anahesh's butthole.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's just on camera. Sorry, Anahesh. Don't know. Because in the original, we cut away because you don't get that graphic explicit nudity here. They just let that shot hold.
So
And it's like,
they're
oh,
really
okay.
they're really doing everything that they couldn't do in the original, from the opening helicopter shot to that.
Well, and even
Yep.
editing aside, just the way that is like choreographed is so bad.
Mm-hmm. And then, but what we don't do is, like the original, we don't see the knife go into her. We're cutting around it, but why? Like, we can see the knife go into her this time. Why don't we do that? If we're going to have the more explicit nudity, why don't we do the more explicit violence? It's very inconsistent. And no, I'm glad you caught it, because for me, the most baffling choice is in the original, he opens the shower curtain. It's that abrupt
And it
sound effect paired with the
perfection.
music. It's
Yeah.
great. It's like one of the original
Why
big
are
jump
we
scares.
still on this shot?
Well, because this is what the original did. Now we're back to doing what the original did. But yeah, like that original version, just the shower curtain and the music kicking in, it's startling and jumps. Here we delay it, and it's not until he starts stabbing her when we kick in the music. I don't know why. It's just a weird
Yeah.
change.
No,
Yeah, I
because
don't
that
know. I never had a
just threw
pacing
me
issue with
off.
the original, but it's just like, why are we still on this?
Yeah. Nah, Vince, you're trying, man.
Blood, 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 blood.
Yeah, it's. What's funny is with that line too. I also don't think Anthony Perkins' take in the original is very good either. I think that's his worst line reading. It's like "Mother, oh God, Mother, blood." Like I don't think that was very good in the original.
So,
And then even that's worse here. Like blood, blood,
this
blood,
this
blood.
is the problem with doing this set shot for shot. Is it a legitimate reveal at the end of this remake for anyone that Norman is the mom?
Yeah,
No, because he's creepy.
and
He's
it's
too
that issue
creepy.
of like through cultural osmosis. Like everyone knows the psycho twists by this point, not literally everyone.
Well, that's
You know what I
more so
mean?
what I mean.
That's
It's
a
like,
problem too.
is there anybody that went to see this that it was like legitimately shocked?
That was
Be like,
shocked.
oh my
I don't know.
God, Vince Vaughn is the killer?
What face was he making just now? He was like an upset child.
God, those motel signs are so bad.
No, but you're right, because I'm pretty sure when I first watched Psycho, I mean, I knew that Norman Bates was the killer. I think it's one of those things where it's just like I didn't even realize that was supposed to be a twist in the original.
I actually had a really good first viewing of Psycho because this was like 10 years ago now, and I got to see it theatrically. So what I knew going in
Oh,
was like,
awesome.
okay, I think Norman Bates is like crazy or the killer or something. I didn't know about the mom side of it. So watching
Ow.
the movie, it did. I don't know, but it kind of threw me for a loop where I was like, oh, maybe Norman's not the killer, like, or what's going on here. So I did actually get to kind of be surprised by the ending. It was really cool.
Have you lived under
Oh,
a
that's
rock
cool.
your whole life?
That is also correct. So I'm not a good indication of the general knowledge of these.
There's a lot of famous stuff in movies that I didn't know until I watched a certain movie.
Mhm.
Um, But yeah, no, it's just kind of one of those things where you hear Norman Bates and you're like, oh yeah, the killer from Psycho.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any like famous movie twists that I didn't know. I feel like there's probably
That's
one
a
or
good question.
two, but
I knew Fight Club and The Sixth Sense. I'm trying to remember. I
Ah,
think there's
damn, I
one.
didn't know either of those. I got
I
lucky.
wish I wish I didn't know either.
Robert really do be living under a rock.
Hmm?
Sixth Sense though is one of those movies where if you watch it knowing the twist, it's obvious, but it's also still an interesting experience watching it that way.
And it's also, if you don't know the twist, it's an interesting movie to rewatch because then you're looking for the clues
Then
and
you're looking
picking
for
up
it,
on
yeah.
stuff.
Same with Fight Club.
So, John, you were complaining about the pacing issues earlier. This scene is fine in the original, and it feels like it goes on forever here. I get it. She's dead. He's cleaning up the body. We can tighten this up.
What, you don't want to watch him rub the blood off that sink?
And now mop it up in excruciating detail.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, like the original movie, it's just paced for the time. It's just how he made movies. And Janet Leigh dying halfway through is this really big, shocking twist in 1960 where we need the audience to understand she is dead. This isn't a fake out. She's not going to be saved. Like, we are just sitting with this character is dead now. Holy shit. And now Norman's the protagonist. In 1998, we don't need to be spending this much time on this.
Well, and that's the other thing that people picked up through cultural osmosis at that point is I think everyone knows that Janet Leigh dies in the middle of Psycho. So it's like, we don't need to be spending this much time on this.
To the point that the shower death is the poster for this movie that John was talking about earlier. Like, they weren't even trying to hide it.
And I mean, that's kind of become the poster or the cover on like future releases for the other one, for the original one too.
Robert, this is like when you're playing one of those like the Telltale or like Become Human, but it's the beginning of the game, so they're like easing you into the plot. So you just like push buttons to do like the dishes or.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You've seen the original Planet of the Apes, right?
Yeah.
Was that another one where you knew the twist, where you guys knew the twist before you saw it?
Yeah, the internet ruined that one for me.
I knew the twist for that, yeah.
I saw the remake for that before I saw the original.
Oh, weird.
I saw that remake. I saw that remake in theaters when it came out.
It's funny because my first Planet of the Apes movie was Rise. So
cool.
9-year-old me did not know what the fuck I was looking at.
I still don't know what I'm looking at in that movie.
I mean, that's just true.
I'm gonna have to watch that at some point.
We'll do that right after.
Yeah,
that's a horror movie.
I mean, you've said no to Planet of the Apes stuff before. I wouldn't be opposed to adding that to the wheel for the original remake.
I mean,
I love Planet of the Apes.
That was a joke.
I know.
The real horror is watching the remake.
Does that really count for this channel?
I think it should.
Oh my god, this is still going.
It is.
It's just because of the Rod Serling connection to the Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I do Planet of the Apes on this channel.
There's some scary stuff in that movie.
Like Charlton Heston's face.
I mean, that monkey and human kiss is terrifying.
Ugh. And it's in the remake.
Oh, I'm surprised the remake didn't have them have full-on sex.
It gets close because
there's like a weird sex scene in that movie, isn't there?
No, but
Not between humans.
Monkey.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. No, with the two apes, yeah, there was a weird kind of sex scene in that movie. Yeah, that movie's very weird.
We're just talking about Planet of the Apes now. It's more interesting than what's happening on screen. Yeah.
Vince Vaughn does do a funny thing here, where like a car's passing and he just drops the pail and just smiles.
He's just staring.
Like, hey, nothing weird happening here.
I don't know how to function as a human.
Which again is kind of in the original, but say it with me. Anthony Perkins does it subtly, where he sees a car going past, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh shit! Like, what do I do?"
And like I said before, I don't want to pick on Vince Vaughn too much because I don't
Mhm.
think he's a bad actor. I just
Me neither.
I
So
don't
far,
know if
I'm
it
not
would.
seeing. I'm not thinking. I don't see that he's the problem. Um,
It might be
I
how
just
he's
think he's
directed.
miscast, but yeah, that
yeah.
could be that. I think the acting in this movie is very hit or miss. We haven't even gotten like
If it was
Julianne Moore
just
yet, who I think is the
yeah,
best.
if it was just him being bad, I would say yeah, that's probably a Vince Vaughn problem. But like, I don't think Anne Hesh is very good either.
Mhm.
So is
Oh my
Julianne Moore
god,
her
just
sister?
move on.
Oh, what were you saying?
Is Julianne Moore her sister?
Yes, really good casting.
So we haven't got to her yet.
Right.
I mean, have you seen her pop up on screen?
No, I know. That's why
Mhm.
I'm asking.
And again, this scene he plays really weird, where he's like smiling a lot. I don't know why.
He should be horrified.
You can cut this movie's runtime in half if you just cut the scene appropriately.
Mhm. Yeah, I just don't know what he's doing with his performance there because Anthony Perkins looks very nervous and is like kind of shaking, and he doesn't start to get panicked until the car gets
The
stuck,
car won't go down. Yeah.
which is a funny bit, and it is in both versions.
He's
Except this one,
he's kind of playing it more like a comedy, and that's kind of where his comedic acting sensibilities
yeah,
come in. Because you see him smiling, and then it cuts. It's not going down, and he's like, "Oh, uh-oh."
that just makes me wish we cast Paul Rudd as Norman in this. That would have been amazing,
Would have been better.
possibly. I mean, I actually
Because
think Paul Rudd's very bad in
Paul
Halloween
Rudd
6, but he's hilarious.
has a natural charisma that even if it's
Mhm.
bad, I'm enjoying when he's on
Right.
screen. Trying to think of 98. No, you know what? Fuck it. Cast Jeff Goldblum. Please. Just do it.
That's not a. I mean, he'd be a lot
Norman
older than
Bates.
Perkins was, but I don't dislike that choice.
Just imagine it. Mother
That's fine.
is ill.
We all go a little mad
Mad. So,
sometimes.
Tell me that it would not be better than this.
hey, and there's Julianne Moore with her Walkman because 90s.
I'm looking for my sister and listening to tunes.
That's the choice. And there's Flea for reasons
Oh my god, it's Flea
from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
He was in a lot of movies during this time. He has a lot of bit parts in like The Big Lebowski
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff.
weird how Anne Hesh feels like a 60s character and this feels like a 90s character.
Yeah, very. No, Julianne Moore is the one who succeeds at like using the same dialogue, updating this character, and making it her own. She's very good at this.
And William H. Macy's in this too.
Yep. And we're gonna do the same Arbogast like close-up face to the camera shot, but with William H. Macy, it doesn't work because he's not intimidating. It just looks awkward. And I love William H. Macy.
No, I love William H. Macy, but especially during this time, he was mostly playing like dweebs.
Mm-hmm.
Have either of you guys seen that show, Shameless?
I haven't.
I haven't
heard
seen
it's
it,
great
but I know
though.
about it.
It loses its way at a certain point, but those first few seasons are really solid. And he plays just an absolutely like piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. And his hat's too big. Looks like a cartoon character.
Looks like it's gonna fall over his eyes.
This is a way bigger cast than I ever thought it did.
Yeah, that's probably where a lot of the budget went.
Yeah, he also looks like a character that's just straight out of the 60s with his wardrobe. Mm-hmm. Like, what are we doing here?
Well, what are you talking about? This is 1998 Private Detective Man. This is how they all
Moore's like clashing really badly with the other two.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I
I
said,
don't
I
know.
like Viggo Mortensen, but that accent's just a weird choice. And like I said, I think William H. Macy is a fun choice for this role. You know, if you're going to put a different spin on Arbogast, he's just not intimidating in the movie thinks he is.
You just have to play it differently.
Right.
You know, you have to do a different take on Psycho.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
That's what we're saying this whole time. Yeah, because I'm just seeing Jerry from Fargo here.
This is really interesting because I kind of went into this kind of wondering, like, maybe I'll like this. I'm just kind of indifferent and confused.
That's fair. Mm-hmm.
No, this isn't like pissing me off. It's just baffling.
Yeah,
Like,
like
what
you
is
said,
even the point?
it's just more
And I think
interesting to
that's
talk
because
about.
everyone I've heard talk about it says it's like the worst thing ever. Like,
And I don't think it is.
It's kind of confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets even more confusing, like we keep talking about in this commentary, with the choices that are like counterintuitive to the initial premise of making this.
And scenes like this don't work when Vince Vaughn Norman Bates is towering over Arbogast, who he's supposed to be intimidated by. Like, if you guys don't know, Vince Vaughn's like a giant. Like, he's a very tall dude.
Yeah.
And
if you're gonna dress him like it, just get The Rock for this.
why he has the Rock sweater?
He does.
I'm sticking with my my suggestion of Norman Bates should have just been Jeff Goldblum.
I don't dislike that choice. And I don't know if you guys know this, because of course Psycho is a book originally published just a year before the movie comes out. The big difference between the book and the movie is in the book, Norman Bates is actually like a middle-aged schlubby guy. Like he's balding, he's kind of overweight, you know, more of a stereotypical loner serial killer guy. And then the movie put a very different, unconventional spin on that, with him being this really young, good-looking dude who you don't suspect. So, like, there is wiggle room to cast differently for this remake.
I like that movie version better because it's scarier if you're not like, oh, this guy
I was
looks.
gonna say,
yeah.
Almost makes it creepier.
And that's why, to your point, like getting an older actor like Jeff Goldblum, like I think that's fine. Like, I think that would have been a fine choice.
Okay, so what if instead of William H. Macy as the detective, that's where you cast Viggo Mortensen, just using the casting that's already here. And then cast somebody else as the boyfriend.
Cast Vince Vaughn.
They cast William H. Macy as the boyfriend.
Why not? I mean, he's such a minor.
That would be funny.
Yeah. I didn't think like Viggo Mortensen would be such better casting for William Macy's character.
I agree. I agree. And then the boyfriend is kind of one of the main characters by the end of this story. And I think Vince Vaughn would have been good for that.
Yeah.
Better than Norman.
Mother, she's upstairs and
And like I said, I think William H. Macy plays the scene well. I just don't buy that Vince Vaughn is intimidated by this man.
So I buy it just because William H. Macy is being very smooth talking and fast talking. And this guy seems a little, not to be offensive, slow.
Yeah.
And size apart, if you've ever had somebody that's talking circles around you, size doesn't matter. That's intimidating.
That's right.
That can be intimidating.
It's just, like we said, also funny when he has that hat and he looks like a...
Oh my god, I just look over and Vince Vaughn's like...
Yeah, that's...
William Macy's kind of winning me over.
Yeah, I think he's good in the scene.
her hair was all wet. She's got like a pixie crop or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
What
He's
is he
doing
eating?
I
it's
don't
like
know.
candy.
He eats candy corn in the original. I don't remember if it's still candy corn in this.
Ugh.
Yeah, that's how you know.
Yeah.
That's the clue. He
That's
likes
how you
candy
know he's
corn.
a
That's
psycho.
Candy corn is revolting.
Yeah. I don't know anyone that likes that. He's doing a very bad job of looking innocent. And
Yeah,
I
I
guess
mean
that
that's
was the
in the
case in the original
but
too.
I'm
But
not
it's even worse
laughing
here.
at Anthony Perkins. I'm
Mhm.
kind of laughing at Vince Vaughn.
Yeah.
No, because he's just mugging into the camera every second.
Mm. And like you said earlier, I think he's just trying too hard. It's not a phoned-in performance, but it's just the wrong performance.
And I can see that if he was intimidated to take the role, because I think anyone would be.
Mhm.
So he might overcompensate for that and just try too hard.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other like big '90s actors that would be like a serious Nathan or Norman Bates. Johnny Depp wouldn't have been a bad choice. He might be a little more weird and out there, but
I can kind of see it.
1998, I could see that working. That's before Johnny Depp is like really up his own ass and being weird for the sake of weird.
yeah.
So that might have worked.
Um,
Edward Norton, maybe.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
No,
not a bad one.
that's not terrible.
Mhm.
Um,
Would have been around Fight Club.
if you want to
It would
go
have been a
more
year
book accurate,
before.
like you said, Eddie from The Lost World. That would have been funny.
Yeah, if they wanted to go closer to the book, he would have fit that.
What about Julianne Moore as
Sure.
Norma Bates?
I'm honestly surprised there hasn't even been like an attempt at, well, we're gonna remake Psycho, but gender flip it.
That'll probably be the next one. We'll see. You'll probably disagree with this. I'm with Psycho. That's a property where I think like we're done. We can leave that one alone. It got sequels. It got a and then had
Got
a
a whole
TV show
show.
reimagining. Yeah, like I feel
Yeah.
like we've said everything we've needed to say with this character. Because like you said about like you think that they can remake this, I'd argue. Well, I think they already kind of did with Bates Motel. So I think we're done. I think we're good.
My thing is just I can never put a pin in a franchise, especially in the horror genre. They always come back.
They
It's
do.
better to just be open to it if it happens.
That's fair.
Cool.
Psycho's
they
just
need
in
to
that.
do, instead of a movie, they need to do like a video game or something.
No, I mean that would legitimately be cool.
If they did it right, maybe.
Make it a level in that Retro Realms arcade.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
I think this is the scene where it's more awkward for me, where when Vince Vaughn is just towering over him, and we're still trying to play it the same way we play it in the original. And I'm like, this is. If anything, you should flip it. Like you should have Arbogast be a little bit more intimidated, and okay, this guy's getting a little short with me. I should go, but no, just trying to play it the same way.
I think it works because William H. Macy is so charismatic.
He is.
And Vince Vaughn isn't, at least in this movie. It's kind of like a dad lecturing his son.
And I just can't take him seriously in that happen. Like I love it, but it's really distracting.
I wanted Norman to just like flick his hat off or pull it down over his eyes.
Yeah, and John, I see where you're coming from. Where with horror, we always come back. We always try that because it's a big IP, it's brand recognition. But Psycho is this weird thing where it hasn't had like a big box office hit movie since Psycho 2 in the 80s, and then recently has like a moderately successful TV show. So it's one of those properties where it's like I don't doubt that a studio would think, well, we have Psycho, we should make another Psycho movie. But it's like, but where's the evidence that that's even worth of doing? Where's the money?
Okay, they keep making Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. When was the last time one of those was successful?
Exactly. It's weird.
The horror genre doesn't make any sense with franchises. It doesn't matter how your last 100 movies have done; they will keep pumping them out.
Right.
Same thing with The Exorcist. When was the last time a successful Exorcist movie was made?
Yep.
The original, probably.
So yeah, I could see Psycho coming back, and I'll watch it if it looks cool.
Yeah, I would just need to know what the take is.
That's why I always tell people you can never, especially in the horror genre, you can never just put your foot down and say I will not watch anymore, because there will always be another one, and you got to be open minded about it.
Mm. But to be fair, we also have the right as fans where if we hear it's terrible and don't think it looks good, it's also our right to
choose not to watch it
and say nope.
Well, yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can't just say, "Oh, this has been announced." Fundamentally, I'm putting my foot down and this is going to be bad.
Right.
But it's also not just it's going to be bad. It's also we've said everything we could with this, so I don't need any more.
But see, with how simple a premise this is, you could update this and make it a modern day story and say something about the modern world and how we treat mental illness now versus the 60s where they didn't understand.
Right, and I'd argue that the Bates Motel show already covered. We've already
the Bates Motel show was also, was that 10 years ago?
Well, it started 10 years ago, but yeah, no, they do handle
the final
season stuff pretty delicately.
Is it the final season, the remake?
Yes,
with
which I haven't seen yet.
With Rihanna.
Yeah, weird choice.
Weird.
Still probably better than this one.
Probably haven't seen it.
You mean Battleship star Rihanna is a strange choice?
I've never seen that.
I haven't either.
That's the thing with as well, with me in movies, because Austin is I've seen the stuff that you watch. I will watch anything if I have access to it. I can't. I'm not the type of person to say I know I won't like this. I may not like this, but I want to be surprised. I'm often disappointed, but.
And here we're at the stairs scene.
Yep.
I can't wait.
And I'm gonna shut up and let you watch it.
Oh God. Did they delay the music again?
It's oh boy.
Oh, here we go. Okay, they don't this time. What? Wait, what?
There you go.
I think we're a little off. Yeah, because he's still climbing the stairs.
Did you just get to it, John?
Yeah, there it is. Oh my.
What?
Yeah, what? What was that?
Terrible.
What was that cutting? What was that intercut with?
The dominatrix looking lady and the sheep in the road?
And the sheep.
Symbolism?
So fun fact, that woman that is spliced in there, I saw that screen cap out of context and I thought it was Anne Hesh.
That's funny.
Oh wow.
So when she died, I was like, wait a minute, where? Oh my God. That was
And then we do the same
the awful rear projection, yeah.
And he could have done that better.
Why did he just make it a stunt guy?
I don't know.
That was awful.
Right?
That's so embarrassing. That was worse than the shower scene.
Somehow the worst scenes in this movie are the kills.
I think the shower scene was worse.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe they're both bad.
It goes on so long. The music is delayed.
The editing's off. Yeah,
editing's bad.
the choreography's bad.
The
And
staircase
again,
is more misguided than bad.
I think the idea is his life's flashing before his eyes, but that's all I got.
His life is a woman with a blindfold.
We don't know. Go to his girlfriend.
No,
so again,
what does it mean?
That was his wife and a pet sheep that he had that he
That was
lost.
his
on the road.
No, wait.
So, Noah, is this trying to be a shot-for-shot remake or an update? Question. Answer.
It can't decide.
So Robert, just because we don't have anything else better to do right now, show us your Psycho collection.
Oh yeah, this is really cool. It doesn't have this movie, but it's all I had for a prop because I don't own this movie. But yeah, it's just the simple Blu-ray, but it's got a cool slipcover.
Oh hell yeah!
Cool.
So this is just the original 4 movies. Only the first movie has special features, which is kind of disappointing. But still, I got this for like $10, so it's like a really cheap,
awesome.
nice collection for 4 movies.
Why don't you own this movie? Why are you a fake Psycho fan?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I think it might be Arrow Video or Scream Factory. I can't remember. There's a 4K set of the first 4 movies that I want to get.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, they have all 4?
Hey,
yeah, the first 4.
She's got her Walkman again.
Yeah,
and we just talked over it, but in the original film, when she agrees to leave with Sam Loomis, she says, "Let me get my coat." And in this, we updated it to "Let me get my Walkman," because 90s.
Why do you need your Walkman?
I don't know.
Is the music really that important?
You're right. It's from Arrow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's Arrow.
I don't want that because I was thinking about getting that that like Alfred Hitchcock 4K set to get Psycho, but I don't really care about having all of his films. Like, there's maybe 3 or 4 of them that I want to see.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's something I double dip for just because I love Hitchcock and Psycho.
Yeah. Well, in Psycho's a movie, you have a million options for. Like, it's been re-released so many times on Blu-ray and 4K. Like, it's very easy to get.
Like, I liked Rear Window. I don't think I'd watch it again, except
That's
for
fine.
the channel. But I am going to try to watch Vertigo.
Vertigo's a good movie.
They're talking to the library detective from Seinfeld.
Oh, so, Philip Baker Hall, is that who that is?
Philip Baker Hall,
If I can give this movie any prop, I do genuinely like Julianne Moore in this movie.
I do too. I'd say I'd maybe like her better than Lila in the original. I mean, I like Lila fine. She's a good actress in the original, but Julianne Moore is a standout here. With her goofy Walkman and everything.
Oh, this set looked nice,
what's,
too.
What's that backpack she's wearing? I don't know, but I love it.
No, because I've always said, like, I like the original Psycho a lot. A 5-star movie. The second girl, I don't know her name, you just said it, but
Lila.
It's not as interesting as Miriam.
Correct. Everyone agrees on that. Like, it's got a better first than the second. Most people.
Oh wait, Noah, this only has 2 through 4.
Oh, weird.
I thought it had 1 as well.
Okay. There's so many versions of 1.
Hold on.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, Psycho, the story continues. But I mean, yeah, you guys should obviously watch the movies before getting this set. But I think that's a set worth getting.
Oh, they did do a second collection that has all 4, but that is out of print.
Crap.
Used from 750 pounds.
Jesus Christ. I guess I'm not getting that.
Yeah.
Maybe pounds in American dollars, that's like $72. I don't know.
Oh, sure. That seems
right. Wait a minute. Zavi has it for 50. Oh, it's sold out.
No.
Fuck.
This is our just hunt for the Arrow Video Psycho 4K collection.
No, I mean that's a set that I would buy blind. Just at the very least, I'd have the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think it's a safe bet that I'd like at least some of the sequels, so why not?
Like, I blind bought the Omen set, and I'm kind of glad I did because I like the first 3.
Yeah, even Psycho 4, which is like half a sequel, half a prequel, which most people agree is the weakest one. It's still worth watching because Olivia Hussey plays Norma, which is a weird choice, but she's very good in it. Definitely a lot younger than you picture Norma in the original film, but like she's good in it. And Henry Thomas plays young Norman in that. I don't know if you knew that,
Oh,
John.
I did not.
Yeah, like teenage Henry Thomas plays.
Oh,
He's pretty
wow.
good. He's a pretty good young
Robert,
Norman.
just on our off time, we gotta watch E.T. one day.
We should.
I love that movie. No
Eh.
one's wrong
Oh,
about
we
it.
should invite Austin.
Yeah. Oh, he loves that movie more than me.
Noah's just wrong about that movie. That movie's a classic.
I like ET.
I think it's okay.
Yeah.
We're like all
It's the
perfectly
best.
balanced. Like John loves it. I like it. Noah thinks it's okay. Austin hates
Austin
it. Like
hates it.
we checked every box. And
Run
hey,
the
look,
gamut.
guys. Remember Psycho? It's still Psycho.
Yes. We're still Psycho.
Why did Vince
Oh my
Vaughn
God.
change his voice?
Well, this is the original. He's
That's in
talking
the
back and
original.
forth as Norman and Norma.
I know, but when he's talking as Norman, he sounds different.
That's fair. I don't disagree. I just think his whole performance is just off this whole movie.
Who,
We somehow
who
still
voices
have
the
20
mom?
minutes.
Oh God.
Sorry, what was the question?
Who voices the mom?
I was looking at somebody called Rosemary, not Rosemary's Baby. Somebody I don't know too well, but apparently was in a ton of movies and
Rosemary,
stuff.
what's her last name?
It's just Rosemary. That's her credited name.
Yeah.
Just Rosemary.
I've heard of people not having middle names, but no last name?
Well, she's like Rihanna.
Okay, so she was born Rosemary Mazzetta, but I guess just her credited Hollywood name is just Rosemary.
Speaking of names, because I don't know what to talk about this movie. Middle names are dumb. Have you guys ever thought about that? Like, when do they exist?
Are they?
When is the last time you used your middle name?
distinction
This is John's middle name.
for signing
rant.
stuff?
When is the last time you've ever used your middle name?
No, I think it makes sense for historical records.
I think I've written my like middle initial for like forms and stuff, but
yeah, and we have a billion, like John Smiths. It's it's just extra distinction when you have a middle name thrown in there.
I just thought about it, and I'm gonna kind of debunk myself at the same time. So, fun fact: my dad and my grandpa had the same name. The difference is my grandpa doesn't have a middle name, and my dad does.
That's funny.
So my grandpa would always call my dad by his middle name just because their name was both Abe.
Okay.
And Noah, my dad's middle name was Noah, except it was spelled Noe for some reason.
But that's Noe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Still Noah.
So my grandpa would call him Noah.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, it's we have middle names, so Wolverine can be referred to as Logan.
That's true.
That blew my mind when I figured out his name, when I learned his name was James.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that for a long time.
James Logan Howlett.
I feel like that's never brought up in like anything.
To be fair, I think that's like a relatively recent addition. I don't think that's
origin. That's Origins, isn't it?
That might be where it starts, but I'm not fully sure. Anyway, that was over 20 years ago, or 20-ish years ago.
Funnily enough, I learned about it from the Origins movie because they kept referring to him as Jimmy. I was like, "What the who?
Why are you calling him Jimmy?"
No, John, they don't refer to him as Jimmy. They refer to him as Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Victor. I don't know how people can hate that movie. It's nonsense, but it's
because
so
it's
fun.
bad.
It's schlock.
It's schlocky.
It's not fun enough schlock.
I'd watch Liev Schreiber, Hugh Jackman Psycho movie. I'd like to see what that looks like.
Yes. Speaking of Lee Schreiber, he is the only good part of the Omen remake. Oh, no,
Oh, cool.
sorry, one of two, because the pastor or the priest guy is the hunter guy from the Lost World, Pete something.
Oh, Pete Postlewaite or something. Yeah, he's great. Like I said, it's just really funny, like you guys said earlier, how like 60s Anne Hish's Marion looks and how 90s Julianne Moore's Lila looks. Like they could not be more opposite.
From different time periods.
Guys, I hate to say this, but this movie's kind of boring.
No, hot take. Hot take of the
Something
century.
happened already.
If you can believe it.
Also, because we skipped over it, there's like a little 1 minute scene we cut from the original where it's after Sam and Lila go to see the sheriff. They see him again, like at church the following morning. It's like a little 1 minute scene. It's like they cut that, like, well, that's a little superfluous. We don't need that. But so we're gonna cut that for time. Why do we need 10 minutes of Vince Vaughn cleaning up after Marion's body? Like, why is that where we choose to cut something for time, but keep the rest of the slow pacing? I don't get it.
I think you just have a short attention span, Robert. You're one of those
That's probably true.
Gen
I mean, I
Z
do have
kids.
my attention span is fucked.
I mean, yeah. If we live in 2024, your attention span is fucked.
You don't think this movie would appeal to the TikTok generation?
No, there's not enough
No,
like
imagine
Subway
them-
Surfers clips
Imagine
and
showing
Family Guy
them just
clips.
the original movie.
Oh God.
Boring. There's not
what-
even any blood.
What movie was it? There was something announced recently that somebody, like Studio had said, like, we're trying to appeal to the TikTok generation with this.
There's
You guys
been
know
a
what I'm talking
few.
about?
The one that comes to mind is that Hercules remake.
Oh God. What does that
Which
mean?
is-
That's it. What does that mean?
Which is apparently a TikTok musical.
Huh?
You don't know about
I've
that?
not heard of it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, I
about
heard
this.
about it.
I don't remember who it was that's involved with the film, but they're like, yeah, it's basically like a TikTok musical. I don't know what that means.
Don't do that.
That's the problem with the movies, is they're so desperately trying to appeal to like the modern generation. They're not your target audience.
Right.
No, like a lot of young people aren't really watching movies.
Yeah, it's like, why did this movie flop? Because the only people who saw it were people who liked the original, saw it opening weekend, didn't like it, and then it was
Didn't
done.
like it.
This
Yeah.
did not bring 20-something-year-olds to the theater.
And I'm not saying that's like an exclusive problem to now, because
Right.
It just always makes me laugh. Be like, oh, movies are so much worse now. No, movies are the same. You're just
there's
living
always
through
good
it
ones in
now.
We've always had bad movies.
and bad trends, you know.
Just you're living through it, but before you just got to watch like the cream of the crop that rose.
Yeah, and again, like it's the tiniest of nitpicks, but why did we just strip the gothicness away from the Bates house?
Now
And
that
just
it's
do
in
this.
now it's
Like,
in the sun. I see what you mean.
it's like, why? And it's built. It's the facade
Yeah.
is built in front of the original one. Why do we
It's
do that?
also, I think part of it too is, and I mean, I don't mind that this movie's in color, but
Yeah.
the fact that the original movie, this scene was in black and white, I think helps.
Mhm.
I would love to have seen what Alfred Hitchcock thought of this.
Yeah, I don't know.
When does he stop making movies?
Well, he dies in the 80s, and I think he did like a couple of 70s movies, but he may have been retired for a few years before he passed away. His career kind of
last-
fizzles out. Like his last
his-
couple movies aren't considered like classics or anything.
His
Imagine
last few
Hitchcock
movies are
watching
pretty rough.
Hellraiser.
Yeah, you probably
His
like
head
it.
would explode. She's in the Maxine house.
Yeah, the cinematography's starting to lose its charm for me.
That's fair.
It kind of looks like a TV movie.
You're not wrong. And it's funny that you say that because Psycho 4 was a TV movie and has very similar cinematography. But I mean, it was a Showtime movie, you know, like it wasn't like a super tiny budget. Like it was quality
Like, this looks like The Omen 4.
enough. No, you might
That's
be
not a compliment.
right.
I, reputation aside, I am legitimately shocked that one of the boutique labels hasn't picked this up.
Yeah.
Before
This
anybody
hasn't.
in the comments is like, well, it's not good enough for that. Okay, the RoboCop remake got the Scream Factory treatment.
Yeah, this should have at least like a Scream Factory release.
The Friday
can
remake
see-
got the Arrow treatment.
Well, the Friday remake's pretty good.
But that's also a
That's
movie
true,
that
too.
I feel like got reevaluated. I don't think
Yeah.
it was very popular at the time.
No,
I can
it was not.
see I can see Arrow putting out this movie.
I'm really hoping
It's-
somebody picks up that Texas remake.
So the art direction of the scene is weird because this is Norman's childhood bedroom, but we're trying to update it so it's trying to look like a 70s or 80s kids room. And because we're not subtle, she picks up a porn magazine,
Nah.
like a Playboy or something.
Why is it the
'cause-
sex that they choose to update and not the violence?
I don't know.
It's a strange choice.
And I don't know what motivates her to pick it up because in the original, if you remember, it's a book with no label or spine or anything, that's completely blank, and that's what catches her eye about it. It's like, oh, what's this? And it's off screen, but she has kind of a disgusted look on her face. Like the implication is, oh, it's some type of like old pornography that's in Norman's bedroom. But of course, they couldn't explicitly show that. So here, it's like, it's like a Playboy or something. But it's clearly what motivates her to pick it up and flip through it. I don't know.
Well, she was
It's
just
just
really
a tiny
horny.
thing. Maybe.
She's
I've heard-
really horny.
I have heard people speculate or say that Julianne Moore's take on Marion might be a lesbian. Like, I don't know if that's a deliberate choice or not. Like,
She's
I don't
not
have strong
Marion.
feelings about it either way.
Just because she
Or
picked
Lila.
up
Sorry, Lila.
she picked up a porno mag. That's it.
I guess. But also, like, maybe Julianne Moore said in an interview, like, she was playing it that way. I don't know. That's just a thing I've heard. Which isn't like a thing I'm against. It's just she has the same dialogue to work with, so there's only so many ways you can make
play
this
it.
character different. Yeah. But I do think she's really good in this.
That is not a subtle hiding spot. What are you doing? Also, I don't believe it's a little weird that Vince Vaughn got the upper hand on Viggo Mortensen of all people.
Yep.
Have either of you guys seen History of Violence?
I have
haven't.
not.
I really want to though.
I want to watch it. Yeah.
It's really good. I won't spoil anything. My disappointment is I was expecting a twist, and there really isn't a
okay.
twist.
Okay.
This scene is weird because we're trying to make it look like Buffalo Bill's hideout or something.
Yeah.
Like where,
I have
like,
to
look, there's
expect
all these
Tobin
birds.
Bell
And
to
stuff.
come out.
Oh my God! It's the Crypt Keeper.
No, this looks terrible.
Oh my God, there he is.
Oh my God!
And
All right,
in the
that's first time
original,
I've seen this version.
That
the
looks
scene.
terrible.
just a shitty
Oh my-
blonde wig. And in the original version, the music kicks in. Norman runs in and charges at her. It's this
Oh,
really
yeah.
shocking, intense moment. And here, he just walks slowly. I don't.
Yeah, it's like a jump scare in the original as well.
Yeah. And in
No,
this
it's
one,
legitimately unsettling. This
and this is not.
stupid.
This is
And-
stupid.
And then Lila kicks him in the face because girl power.
Girl boss. Oh, here's
Which
Robert
I'm fine with.
Forster.
It's just funny.
There's a lot of my favorite character actors in this movie, though. So
Yeah,
I
it's a
guess
stacked
little
cast.
points for that.
Yeah, no, this is a solid cast with a couple of exceptions.
Vince Vaughn being the big one.
Yeah.
And I will say, I do like the way Robert Forster plays this part. He plays it a lot more sensitively than the original does. And this scene is a lot shorter. Like they cut out the transvestite line because obviously we're updating this for the 90s, and that's one of the things that's kind of dated and very 1960. Where he's like, oh, transvestites like get a sexual thrill out of dressing like women, which is very obviously an oversimplification and not entirely accurate. So I get cutting stuff like that. But it's just funny that this is the scene we decide, okay, we got to tighten this for pacing, but the rest of the movie can be paced slow and just like the first one. It's real inconsistent. You have to go back 10 years.
So
10 years.
This actor, what did you guys say his name was? Robert Forster?
Yeah.
He plays Tim Allen's dad on Last Man Standing.
Yeah, it is.
So that's where I see him first. So that's just what I connect to him to.
Oh, that's funny.
The sitcom's all right. I mean, for what it is.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, John, you know him from that movie we reviewed, Alligator.
Yeah. That's a fun little charming movie. There wasn't a lot of meat to talk about, but
it's fun.
Yeah.
There's also a line changed here that I love making fun of in the original and kind of said it's gone, where Lila asks, like, so did he kill my sister? And the psychiatrist is like, yes. And no. And then goes on his long exposition. He's like, oh, by the way, like, no, your sister is totally dead. Sorry about that. But he plays it so insincerely and he's so full of himself. It's really funny. This Robert Forster's a lot more like, oh, yeah, she's dead. Sorry about that. Like, but my fan theory is that the psychiatrist in the 60 movie actually sucks and is just completely full of himself. And he's like, God damn it, I'm awesome.
That is a good theory because that
guy likes hearing himself talk.
Sucks.
Yeah, I don't know why. If you're going to change anything, this is what you keep. This is the worst part of the original movie.
Yeah, this is shorter, but it still goes a while.
This would be at the top of my list as one of the big things to remove, to change.
And like I said, it is shorter, but it's still slow. Use your crimes of passion, not profit. I don't know if Robert Forster's like from Milwaukee or that area, but like he is a very Chicago type.
It's very Chicago.
And
yeah,
this shot
just talks like that and everything.
I kind of like this shot, this POV shot from Norman, but again, this is a shot-for-shot remake, except when it's not. It's a shot-for-shot remake.
Like for the most embarrassing like recreation of the iconic final shot.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He tries. Yeah, put him away now. Like I said, this movie is just a weird time vortex where it's about the same length as the original. This just feels so much slower. Aren't you scared?
Oh, so spooky.
He's trying.
It's just not scary.
Yeah.
That's also a mistake. I always thought one of the big mistakes in the original was not cutting right after Norman looks at the camera and smiles, and just cut right to credits there.
Oh, okay. You never liked this final shot of the car getting.
I don't think we need to see that.
That's fair.
I'm with Noah. Like that is such a perfect ending shot.
And I don't know why we had to keep it in this version.
Except it goes on a lot longer. Yeah, we gotta talk through the whole credits. It's not a bad shot, and I guess I'm fine with it in theory, where instead of just because in the original, all the credits are up front, and then it just ends with the end, and it's over with the car getting pulled out. Here, we keep the shot going. We're just slowly pulling out, and are going to get a big landscape shot with as the credits go up, because it's a '90s movie, and we do more credits than we did in the '60s. So
Robert was
that's
right. We
fine.
really didn't need to watch the original last night.
Well, it almost makes me appreciate the original a lot more.
So much.
Well, that's
more.
something. Yeah, I guess that's a positive takeaway.
Because like I respect the original. I like it. Like it wouldn't make a top 10 list, but
That's fair.
it
And
did make
this
our 5 out of
would.
5 list. This is number 1. This is my favorite movie, and then Noah's favorite is the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. We just really
Yep.
weird.
Everybody wins.
Well, I mean, I think that movie's
Robert's is
misunderstood.
Exorcist believer. Yeah.
Oh God,
Robert loves that movie.
kill me, kill me.
There's no bigger fan of Exorcist believer than Robert Wilde.
He won't shut up about it, folks.
That's true.
Anyway, all right. So I hate to cut this short, but I don't see the need to keep going over the credits, and we're on a bit of a time crunch here. I've got people waiting for me, so we're gonna call that quits here. Robert, fuck you for making me watch this. I don't know.
Yeah,
fired.
well, you guys can say you've finally seen it. Yeah, this movie's not good.
I like some of it. It's a 1.5 for me.
That's probably about what I'd give it.
Oh,
It's not one of the worst things I've ever seen. Like, I don't hate this movie. I just find it weird and interesting. I don't like it.
Yeah, I was never angry. Like the Nightmare remake makes me angry.
Right.
But that also might be because I'm more invested in like the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise.
I think I'd also give it 1.5.
I think it's fair.
So we'll be back next Friday with Evil Dead 2 for our 400 subscribers. And how soon?
How soon? Yeah.
You got to be there.
I'll be there.
And then after that, we will get back to our remake and pilot. We will be doing Fridays every Friday over here on Haven of Horror now. And then Sundays and Thursdays for gaming. That will be the new schedule from going forward.
Well, and this Thursday, we're going to do a Halloween commentary for Halloween. So
yes,
stay tuned for that.
This Thursday. Don't forget to vote. Voting ends on the day of Halloween at 8 a.m. Right now, Halloween 3 is winning, so look forward to that. No, hopefully see you there for that as well.
I'll be there.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.